of Ukraine, and the Russians would have a very strong control here.
So William Hague has just landed in Kiev. I mean, what's his plan? What is he going to do?
He's already seen the Prime Minister, I'm told, and he's going to see other people, including one of the presidential candidates, Yulia Tymoshenko, tomorrow. And I'm told that he is there to lend support to reform and to those elections, as they have those preparation for elections. But really, it's very hard to see what difference he can make, because events are unfolding so quickly on the ground here in the East.
Lindsay Hilson, thank you very much. Thanks.
Theirs are the voices we rarely hear, the people who don't fill in customer feedback forms, who are too frail to speak out or don't even have front doors for us to knock on. Their experiences of the NHS go unrecorded. But now Health Watch England has launched an unprecedented inquiry to find out what does happen to the most vulnerable when they are discharged from hospital. And they're doing this with the help of people who have been there themselves. In the first of a series of reports, our health and social care correspondent Victoria MacDonald has been listening to the stories of homeless people and how they were treated.
Below the Strand in central London and beneath the gaze of the passing commuters, it's their patch. Rory, Billy and Bonkers the dog. Rarely noticed, never heard. Until now. With the help of Paul Wilson, who himself was once homeless, their stories are to be fed into an inquiry looking at what happens when vulnerable people are discharged from hospital. And this was Rory McKenna's story. He'd recently been beaten up, his ribs broken, his lung punctured.
I managed to stay there 2 or 3 nights instead of just 2 nights. It was one more night. He delayed the x-ray till midnight. I was on a morphine drip. I was in a lot of pain.
I bet you were. So did you, when they discharged you, did they discharge you to the street?
Yeah.
With no help or anything?
No. I stepped round the back there. A friend used to come and see me every night to see if I was
Rory,
right.
I know you have memory problems, but can you think of some way prior to you being discharged, they could have done more for you, and what could they have done?
Well, they could have let me recuperate and recover until my ribs got better, yeah. Because if someone had whacked me in the ribs,
yeah,
they would have killed me, yeah.
Health Watch England, the statutory body which represents patients in health and social care, has set up this inquiry because the fact is very little is known about what they call unsafe discharge. This inquiry is about hearing the voices of people who are not normally heard, in this case, the homeless. And the question is actually quite simple. If they've ever been admitted to hospital, how did the NHS treat them when they were discharged? Did they ask them, have you anywhere to go? Or did they end up right back here on the street? But first of all, you do have to persuade them to speak, and the fact is they would talk to Mr. Wilson because they trusted him. He wasn't just some bloke from some inquiry, he'd been there himself, discharged after a knee operation, carrying a bag of morphine, back onto the streets.
Why do you think we need to hear their stories?
Why? Because no one else is listening. The health service is not listening. Local authorities with the housing are not listening. The government's not listening. Someone's got to listen somewhere.
When a patient is admitted, hospitals do actually have a legal duty to ensure they're leaving with somewhere to go. Social services or housing should also be involved if necessary, but it's not always happening.
By focusing on people's experience is emphasised to the system, to the policymakers and the commissioners, how important it is that this gets joined up. And it's not good enough to think about just what happens in the hospital and feel a job well done. It may be a job well done in the sense that someone's been patched up, but it has to be joined up with what's happening out in the community.
And this is what's happening out in the community. Further down the Strand was Antonio Goncalves. He has HIV and hepatitis C, is on methadone for his heroin addiction, and yet was discharged following a groin operation right back here.
So they discharge you to the streets?
Yeah. Because I don't got no place to sleep, no?
Because you have no place to sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you spent 7 days in hospital with your groin. Did they offer you any other support when they were discharging you? Did they tell you there's places you can go to for help or anything?
No.
And that's no different from how Phil felt. He didn't want us to use his last name, but he was pleased to tell his story.
Yeah, about 18 months ago, I had a very, very bad pain in my stomach. And I thought it was appendicitis. In fact, the ambulance come. They come and they took me in. I got examined. 2 days later, they released me. I was still in pain and aggravated pain. And they said, no, there's nothing wrong with you, off you go.
The doctors and nurses said to you, we're not housing officers.
That's right, not housing officers, we can't help you. And that was it. Although they've obviously got social services, they've got all the care they want in the hospital, they don't bring it out here.
So why not? That's the question the inquiry needs to unravel, and over the next few weeks they will also be taking evidence from those with mental health problems, the elderly or drug users. And we too will be following it closely, listening to those voices that are normally never heard.
That report from Victoria MacDonald, and she'll be following that Health Watch England inquiry over the coming weeks as they talk to other vulnerable groups. And you can read more from her about the Hidden Voices series on our website. Go to channel4.com/news.
A new report says Britain's non-white population is set to more than double, making up around 1 in 3 people by 2050. The report by the centre-right think tank Policy Exchange also finds that those from an ethnic minority background are far more likely to see themselves as British than the white population. Paul Mason reports from the Bengali community of East London.
Whitechapel in East London is home to a large Bangladeshi community. By 2050, says a report today, 1/3 of the